The self-centered woman is the most common of them all. They believe they should run the show and everybody else is a part of the circus. It's an extension of main character syndrome. From what I can tell, it's all about whatever she wants. What does he do for me? And unfortunately, that's a major part of the culture. Whatever she wants. And if you ain't careful, a female-centric relationship is exactly what you'll get stuck in. And needless to say, those dynamics will not be in your favor. That mentality of how can I get her, what does she want, and is she happy can turn your life into a nightmare. So what are female-centric relationships? It's pretty simple. Usually it's an unwritten, unspoken agreement that a man signs up for in order to compensate a woman for being with him. Essentially the rules are, you will prioritize her above all else, you will give her most of your time, you will give her most of your attention, you will be okay with anything she does, otherwise you play the insecure, narcissistic, abusive, or controlling bingo card. You will plan most of everything or entertain her regularly. You will carry some or most of her financial burdens at some point. You will always be committed and available to her, even if she leaves and wants to come back, which, by the way, she decides when it ends first, not you, and she doesn't necessarily have to inform you of when she does want to leave, which covers her mentally checked out clause. What is he doing for me? That's the question that's always going to come up. Female-centric relationships occur when a man allows a woman to dictate the overall dynamic of a relationship. He puts her front and center, then makes her the focus of everything. And he acts as a tool to facilitate whatever fantastical images he has in her head. Why is this a bad thing? Because these women generally don't know where to draw the line. You're essentially signing up to do anything to make her happy. But anything usually means one thing to you and another thing to her. Essentially, it's a sucker's dilemma. A man basically has to become a servant to whatever her ideals are. When I spoke about the culture earlier, I was alluding to the fact that many women are taught that everything should revolve around them, especially when a man is involved, and especially when it's a relationship. They're accustomed to taking and not giving. And if they do give, it's with the assumption that it'll be repaid 10 times over. Otherwise, she'll feel like she got cheated. They'll expect things like perfect communication, even though they don't even understand themselves. These women use relationships as a means to exploration, entertainment, financial assistance, spontaneity, excitement, stability. Without a relationship, a lot of them struggle to have these things. They want a man in the sense of it's hard having a day-to-day identity without a man providing these things for her. They put so much pressure on a man to fulfill them and make them happy because they're taught that's what the purpose of a relationship is, and that's why they end up so miserable in them. A good example is those women who are legit never single. They have an endless itinerary of things to do. They always want to be doing something, and a man is basically a personal side character who facilitates and accompanies these side quests with her because she's the main character. They always want to go out to eat. They always want to travel, always want to buy something, always got a suggestion that involves spending. And the next breath they'll be like, love don't cost a thing. It's the little things. Like, who are they lying to? Themselves? When it comes down to it, a lot of women aren't in relationships. They just have a boyfriend. Again, a lot of women don't see themselves as in a relationship. They see themselves as having a boyfriend. In other words, her man is just an accessory to her, a prop. He's there to give her validation, placate her ego, feed her delusions, solve her problems, deal with her emotions, take her places, buy her things, romance her, appeal to her love languages, listen to her, do things for her. Everything is about her. What else is he there for, right? When you load so much onto someone, is it a surprise that you come to the conclusion that relationships are overrated or that men don't know how to be in relationships? What they're looking for is impossible. No one man can do all these things every single day, forever. We're not robots, like they think we are, apparently. And this is the timeline of many relationships. The guy is there, he serves his purpose, then once things start lagging down or she gets bored, she checks out, then she's out of there. Either initiating a breakup, cheating, divorcing, or just going to another dude entirely. Men in their view are mostly interchangeable and replaceable. Ultimately, there's two kinds of guys that get to stick around in their life. The guy who gives them the most feelings of infatuation, sexual pleasure, or limerence, or the guy who does the most tangibly, who's the most useful, and he gives her the most trinkets, I guess. Again, in a lot of these situations, if you did the math, It's like a 10-to-1 ratio in terms of what a man does versus what she does. You will do all those things in hopes that she'll maybe give you something besides some ass on your birthday. But even then, there's plenty of dudes in relationships where his birthday is damn near a second birthday for her. Tell me I'm lying. The number one dating rule to recognize is a man has to give something to a woman first for her to be around. In other words, what is he doing for me? It could be time, money, attention, emotional stimulation, sexual desire. The exchange will always be by default unequal. Making the first move, handling the bigger things, taking the lead, right? These aren't necessarily bad things. In fact, that's just a courtesy if you're the one who invited her. And you want to be the one in the driver's seat anyway. But the only hope most men have is that the feeling will be reciprocal at some point from her to him. And when that dynamic doesn't become reciprocal, it becomes parasitic in the long run. The secondary part of this is women idealistically and realistically do not want to put more into a relationship than they get out of it. On a social norm level, an unequal exchange in a man's favor is considered a bad thing. An unequal exchange in a woman's favor is considered a good thing. No one's going to bat an eye if a man foots the burden of everything. But when it's the other way around, the eyes start looking and the questions start rolling in. Just think about it. Ask these women what a man's supposed to do and the list is never ending. Ask her what she's supposed to do and she'll get offended at the question. A man needs to protect, provide, pay bills, put gas in my car, change my tires, do this, do that. And the next breath will say, all those things are bare minimum. I'm the table, not him. It's equal. How? Most of these women are not going to bring you peace. They're going to give you problems with periods of peace that you would have had anyway if you were just single. Again, a woman is not going to get into a relationship with a man under the assumption that she'll have to do more than him. It's just not worth it outside very small groups of men. And one opinion I always hold is that relationships where a woman has to carry more weight than a man is either miserable, doomed to fail, or has a way higher chance of ending quicker. What men don't realize is that self-centered women are able to use relationships strategically in order to solve whatever problems they're having currently. Just as an idea, think of those women who are able to go out to 5 dates a week and not spend a dime. Think of the ones who can go out in the town with no money and have the time of their lives. Think of the ones who can go for a night out with $20 in their purse and come back fed. It's a very similar concept. When times get hard, a relationship is a solution. Men generally can't get into relationships expecting to save money. Men can't get into relationships expecting to be wined and dined for free. Men can't expect to get anything besides a woman to show on his side. That's not to say some men don't benefit overwhelmingly financially in a relationship, because there's plenty of men who live off a woman. And that's usually the types that women end up complaining about once a breakup happens. But here's the thing. The number of men who can rely on women financially is vastly outnumbered by the women who are actively doing it. Hell, nowadays, they might get a man just for a very specific reason. They want money, not the man. Marriage, not the man. A baby, but not the man. Social media photo ops, but not the man. There's also a common tendency for a lot of self-centered women to claim they're an investment. So let's examine that and put the idea of love to the side for a second and look at things economically. When you take a look at the definition of investment, there's a part of that which states you're putting time, effort, energy, and resources into something with the expectation of a return. And not just any return, it's when you're able to maintain your initial investment while also getting more than what you put into it. When you don't get what you put into it, that's called a loss. So in reality, from an investment standpoint, economically, since that's their term, a lot of women you date are just straight up losses up front, and especially in the long run. In other words, a cost. You bring them into your life and now you're spending all this extra money. You're spending more time trying to make them happy. You're spending mental resources trying to process what they got going on, and you're spending. You're not exchanging or giving. You're spending. And what is a cost a part of? A transaction. And that's the nature of relationships nowadays, transactional. And that's what a lot of guys realize. It's just not worth paying. A lot of women have a superiority complex because they're so accustomed to getting things for literally no reason. So they believe they're doing you a favor by associating with you. They generally think that they're making your life better by transferring all their problems and obligations to you in exchange for their presence, some sex, and whatever else comes with that. They truly believe, and they've also convinced a lot of men that them arguing, nagging, asking, and demanding more things in general is a good thing. They'll honestly believe you'll be miserable and lonely without them providing those benefits that they call it, right? You'll never find another like me. Why would I want to? And by the way, these women are not dumb. See, some guys only think they run game on guys who are just randoms when they're dating, right? Maybe it's just them getting treatment from the guy without giving up the goods. Or maybe they're just saying like, oh, I'm sitting pretty, I ain't gotta do nothing for nobody. But women are way ahead of a lot of men on this. A lot of these women run game in relationships too, especially when they have a clueless boyfriend who believes them, who always does what she wants, or always bends to her manipulation, or always allows himself to be dragged around. It corrupts them. They will walk all over you if you allow them to, and that's just how they're wired. And that's why I want to talk about control. Control and leverage are very relevant in a lot of relationships. And you can always tell when a man is in a female-dominated relationship. They talk about happy wife, happy life, doing everything to keep her wish is my command, I gotta ask the boss. It comes in a lot of different forms, but it can be a little bit obvious sometimes. One thing you start to learn after a while is the goal for many women is to make a man think things are egalitarian or that he has control, when in reality, it's her. If he gets out of line or he doesn't do what she wants, she's gonna withdraw everything, weaponize everything, and she can more or less threaten him that other men want to take his spot, so he acts accordingly. Now, control is very important because people generally want to be in control of whether or not something fails, because surely you don't want to leave it in somebody else's hands, even if you love them. And in female-centric relationships, the fact that these women love to control a man is on full display. Now, they're able to exert control in different ways. Let me give you some examples. Many women will pick up a man who she considers maybe physically attractive and sexually satisfying, even if he doesn't have a dime to his name or anything else. Why? Because she can control him financially. She can control where he goes, what he buys, or if he gets any money at all. Because in her mind, she believes it makes him less likely to cheat or leave if he doesn't have anything. Same reason why some women will date guys who are in jail. Same concept. On the other side of it, a lot of women will purposely pick up a man who might be facially challenged or has confidence issues or doesn't have the ability to get other women, and this way she can use sex, companionship, and his idealization of love to control and manipulate him. The unspoken word is, if she goes, he loses access to all of that. She knows this, but the guy has no clue, and the long-term goal is to make him believe again that he is in control. I try to stress this all the time. Having a woman or a girlfriend or whatever, that's not an automatic win. There's always a whole dynamic behind it. Like, some guys might be stuck on first base, but once you get past that aspect and start looking at, the logistics of an actual relationship, there's a lot of things going on. Like, there are some women who will let you fill that role of boyfriend or whatever, but nothing is free. It's gonna cost you. And I always say, if you take your life seriously, you better look over at that woman you're dealing with and think of the long-term ramifications of dealing with her. What would having a kid with her really look like on a daily? What would moving in look like? How much money is she causing you to spend? How often does she stress you out? How often does she take you away from the things you need to do? Those things don't really change. And obviously it's not a foolproof plan because yeah, she could switch up and jump bad at any time, but at least give yourself a chance. It's men out here right now, this minute, that are knee deep in some bullshit. And truth be told, a lot of dating problems and relationship problems could be solved if folks just got out while they still could. Dudes be like, she's crazy and lashes out all the time. She almost never touches me. She's sneaky. She's hot and cold. She always has an attitude. She cost me so much money. She cheated. I took her back, but I love her, bro. And interestingly enough, those seem to be the main guys giving relationship advice and telling other guys to hop into one too. Like, what's that all about? But in all seriousness, you gotta stop burdening yourself with problems, because guess what? If you slip up and have a baby, or if you sign on that dotted line, now it gets incredibly hard to leave. At the end of the day, I always say there's never sense in stressing yourself out over a chick, especially a self-centered one like many of them are. Complete waste of time. You'll give yourself early gray hairs thinking that whatever she wants is your purpose in life. And it ain't. All right, y'all, we reached the end here. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like below and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Check out my newsletter where I share notes like this straight to your inbox. And as always, subscribe for more.